because like they made this many memory cards look like a filing cabinet full of evidence.
So
and
they just had to sit there and watch your videos. they had to sit there and be like, I bet one guy was like, man, this is a sweet job.
We're gonna leave this guy alone.
These are
Come
good
on.
videos.
Is that a tank? No, and a lot of it was like the B-roll stuff. Like you would take a GoPro with a magnet on it, stick it on the barrel of a tank, turn it on, and let it roll for 3 hours.
Stupid question, Kyle. Have you ever been in a tank? And I ask because I can't tell the difference between a tank and all the things that look like tanks.
Yeah, I have. I think the Bradley. Right?
Oh,
or the Sherman. No, Sherman. The World War II like Sherman tank with might be a 37 millimeter cannon on it.
Hello, my friends. It is FPSRussia again, and today we're going to play with a very nice tank here. But first things first, let's get something to eat.
I've been in one of those with the working cannon and shot the cannon and driven over a Jeep. And that was the time when it was like a collector's item. Like obviously these things are rare because they're World War II tanks, but this one's like dressy. Like the stars are painted right. The fenders on these things, you might think, oh, it's a tank. I bet it's tough. Well, the fenders are just like car fenders. The part that like sticks out on the edges. And the guy who owned it was this big bellied guy over there with overalls, arms crossed. I don't know what they told him to let me in this thing. You know, who knows what lies he'd been told, but because there was like a middleman between me and him anyway. And I'm filming with a reenacting crew. These aren't, it's not just a guy. That's Mo. He drives it. It's like, no, that's fucking Gunnery Sergeant Pete Townsend of the 44th Brigade. And like, they're all wearing the exact shit. It looks like Fury. There's pictures of it, I'm sure, on my social media somewhere. It's like Fury. They're all in their gear with their helmets and everything. And I'm in that thing, and we're supposed to drive over the edge of this Jeep Grand Cherokee that I've procured for $800. And I want to crush the motherfucker, right? But they're like, slowly go up to it, push up onto it, and then back off. And I'm talking to homeboy that's driving it. I'm next to him. You know, he's got his gear on and everything. And I'm like, this is exactly how it would have been, you know? Rolling through the streets of some French town. Look how hard he hit this motherfucker. He hit it full fucking speed. He didn't slow down a bit. I hyped him up and he crushed it. You know, it's a tank. So like a couple miles per hour. Okay. In reality, like jogging speed maybe, but it's a tank. So it like, and I don't know if you can tell from this angle, but that front fender thing there is fucked up on the other side. I'm pretty sure. Yeah, that's what am I holding there? Oh, I'm holding. See, I've got two rounds there. The one on my left is like a solid lead projectile, and the one on the right hand is my right hand. Your like camera left is like a shot shell, which turned out to be completely ineffective even at close range. Just nonsense.
What does that mean? Like it was a tank shot?
I think it was a round. Yeah. I think it was supposed to shoot a bunch of balls or something. But we shot it, and like I don't think we made contact with the target. We saw a little dust downrange where it like hit the ground a few spots, and it was like that would have scared some folks, wouldn't it?
How many times did you shoot it?
I honestly don't remember. We probably had a dozen rounds or something like that. I'm sure. Like those, you could. They're just loading those.
What was it like to get the rounds? How did you procure them? Or did the guy?
Yeah. Bring? So if the guys who own tanks, artillery pieces, things like that still fire, they load their own ammunition. So they have enormous loading dies, kegs of powder, like out of like video games, you know, the exploding barrels. They've got those. And they'll make their own projectiles, form them out of liquid lead, and make their own bullets. Cause obviously you can't go get those old rounds anymore. And it requires some special licensing. Like first you've got to have a tank, which is really just a road vehicle in the end. A lot of them have plates on them so you can drive them somewhere. We did that a couple times. But then getting the breech to be live, I think it requires a Type 10, which is very high level. You're able to manufacture destructive devices and make that breech live. And then you just need rounds for it. Like I said, that's kind of a small cannon. I think that's 37 millimeter, if I remember correctly. It's been a while. But I shot a tank destroyer one time, and that thing was like the bullet was big. Like it wasn't like something you'd hold in your hand. It was like something you support with both hands, like a goddamn child. It's like, this is the fucking bullet that goes in this fucking Hellcat tank destroyer thing. That thing was different.
That was like, was it open top?
That was also like it's called a tank destroyer, but to my eyes, it's like, what's the fucking difference? It's a tank. We're down in this thing with the, you're in it. That one was a lot cooler. That was a more modern piece, like maybe Korea or Vietnam. I'm just guessing. I don't know shit about tanks. That was when we nearly killed Jeremy, because Jeremy was hanging out the top of the tank recording, and I was shooting a plywood hut that we had put a trash bag full of tannerite in. I don't know how much. We just filled a trash bag, like a big, like black trash bag.
How did you shake it? Did you just shake it in the bag?
Wow.
Yeah. And then we like tied a knot in the top, tied a rope to that, held it in the center in the air inside of a plywood hut that was like 2x4s around the corners, begged the crowd to back up, and they refused. And so I got in that son of a bitch and like let her rip, and shit went everywhere. Pieces of 2x4s that like a tornado had like torn them asunder and made them into like lethal splinters that would just right past us. Like I'm down in a tank. I don't give a shit. I've warned everyone.
I'm not sure you wouldn't be liable. Like,
not my
hey
tank,
guys, I'm
not my
shooting
land.
toward you.
How many people were there? Like,
they didn't move. Not my
15,
fault.
20 at least. 15,
how
20
close were they? When
Probably
you're like
30 yards behind me. And like up on a ridge, like they were in the blast zone. Like the shit went up there to where they were. They refused. I begged and begged, and I'm like, I'm filming here. They like, we're on public land. This ain't my tank. Like, y'all need to leave. I'm about to blow this shit up. And they were like, let her in. You know,
it's pretty dope.
Usually tried to not have a fucking studio audience for things like that. But I think that the guy that owned the tank like brought all of his buddies to see the show.
What Russian tanks have you been in? The ones with the glowing?
I don't know what it's called. But it's I drove it through this guy's house in Texas. He wanted his house destroyed because he was building a bigger, fancier mansion, and he also owns the APC or whatever it is. It has a cannon, but it's not operational, or at least it was at the time. They hadn't gone through the paperwork and everything of making it fire. But the gauges in that thing were radium. I think the gimmick we did there was I drove through the house at like full speed, and then at one point I parked in the house, and then we were trying to blow the house down onto me, so we set charges all in the house and like blew the house down. Yeah, there you go.
Wow.
See, that's a good shot from the drone there. That's Richard Ryan's work. Richard was on the drone. Yeah, Richard Ryan's on the drone there.
Why is the explosion coming out of the roof like that?
Because we set the charges on the second floor.
Okay.
There's 3 charges on the second floor. Those charges are I don't know the exact mixture, but it's there's some plastic explosive and I think it's all plastic. It's mostly plastic explosive, but it's against water barrels, and it's hyper pressurizing that water and creating those jets that you're seeing blow everything out. So everywhere you see like a cloud of vapor, that's the water being used to send everything flying. It's a lot safer than the alternative, which would,
I didn't realize it was on a river when I saw the video.
Oh, that's a little bit.
Yeah.
It's a nice place.
There's a sick pool in the backyard that like overlooks that little valley, and that's his river. It flows into a big lake that he's got. The lake is full of like these giant inflatable obstacles to like ride your jet skis around.
That house was nice, wasn't it? Before you blew it up,
that was technically a mobile home. Like so they brought that in a module. That's a modular home. See, that is that's because Dale Earnhardt lived for a long time in what's called a modular home. They bring it in sections and stick it together, and because he wanted a nice place fast at one point when he got all that money, but they were destroying that to build a very legitimate mansion, I'm told. But yeah, that guy's got every toy you can imagine. I can't think of anything he doesn't have that you would want. Like if you want a fast car, a jet, you want your own skeet range. I mean, he's living on a wild game preserve.
I have a wealthy friend, and he's getting into flying now, and he's like, yeah, I think I'm gonna buy a jet. And it's just like that. He was asking me for like, what would you look for if you were choosing a flight in school, like instructor, and I didn't know, but I had friends who have licenses, so I passed it on. But it's just kind of neat to be like, to have that kind of cash. He can have anything he wants. Yeah. Literally. I mean, there are some super yachts and stuff.
But like he can make things happen as well. Because like I know there was a time over there in Texas where they were like, well, can't have a jet without a runway, can we? Let's get started on that. And it's just like, hey, call the graders. We need a runway. we're gonna need 3 miles of concrete too. Make that happen. Like, how do you make that happen? They just made a fucking runway, right there on the property. I don't know what that must have cost. What does a runway cost? I don't know. Land and take off jet off.
Is it $1 million?
How nice is it? I don't know. Is it? I don't know.
I mean, it's just a private landing strip in the end, but I know they land like a jet, like a jet that you and the boys get in and hop on over to New Orleans and kind of thing.
I've never seen an asphalt runway. Asphalt taxiways, yes, but not runway. Maybe it has to be grass or concrete. I don't know.
I guessed concrete. I don't know. That's pretty wild when you've got hundreds of millions of dollars and you've also, like, the way his thing is set up there. I don't think there's a bottom. I think it's a nonprofit that they're running there with the wild game thing, taking care of those animals. So I think things are set up real well there.
For sure, but I think the nonprofit is making a profit. I don't know. I'm just guessing.
The profit is the enjoyment of the rehabilitation of animals and a love for the outdoors, I'm sure.
Well, I stand corrected. All right.
The quickest way to survey his land is his private jet, of course, to check on his animals and stuff,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, makes sense.